Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to be looking at some custom tree ideas that you can use to make your builds look way better. I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different ideas and some tips on how to make your own, and I'm sure there's at least one that you're going to love. So anyway, let's jump right into it. When I first started trying to make custom trees, I'm going to be honest, it was really hard, and I don't even think I've completely mastered it yet. I'm really only starting to dig out the surface of doing it, but I think I've got some valuable information and some great ideas to show you, starting with this one here. This is kind of like a spruce, kind of like aspen area, I guess, like a redwood forest. I really like this tree design that I've come up with here, and I think it's a little bit different than the norm because it really, if you look at the blocks and you zoomed in, you'd probably think that it's a rock. I think that's the first tip I can give, is try and do like a gradient through your tree to make it look like it's aged, because trees aren't all perfect and uniform, right? Like if you look at those trees in the back, I mean those are the bad Minecraft trees. These are the better Ecolio trees. If you want to make this specific design here, you kind of start off with these gray and green colors, and you kind of move into an orangish red hue, as you can see here. This one's probably a really good example, but we go into like a beige just on one side, but then it's all orange, right? And every branch starts off orange pretty much and then goes into the jungle wood, which is a nice little detail that no one would notice if I didn't mention it here. This is what you can actually do with those trees if you kind of rotate and copy paste them with Lightmatica. You can build a really cool forest like this. I actually built this on the plot world on our server. The IP is in the description if you want to come check it out. This little forest area here is all pretty similar. This one is a little bit different as well. I guess this could be considered a different idea, but this one uses the spruce and dark prismarine. I think a really big part of making these trees is just using different colors and different gradients. They make the trees look a lot better. That's a general rule of thumb, I guess, for making these. But for these ones here, I'll just fly around a little bit and let you get a view. And if you want to take some screenshots and stuff, now is the time before we move on to our next build idea, which is hopefully equally as impressive. In this unfinished build that I'm still kind of working on behind the scenes here, I have made some really neat looking, I guess these would be birch trees, but better birch trees. And these are also pretty simple to do once you kind of figure out a template and you just rinse and repeat. Basically, you want to set up a big, large, straight trunk and then put some poof balls on the sides and kind of give them some dangly bits. This one here obviously is a lot more wood, so I used a lot of the birch, and then only diorite basically is the only other block I used to kind of give it that kind of mossy lichen texture, which a lot of these trees do have in nature. In my opinion, a good tree like this makes a build go from like a 6 to a 9 or even a 10, just because they really add that much more texture and dynamic view to the build. It turns it from, oh, you built this in Minecraft, to something a little bit more, I guess. And with the way the build meta is going on YouTube and just in servers and stuff in general, I think starting to do custom trees is one really simple way to step up your game. And this is just one more design that I'm ready to show you. But if you find this one too complicated, this next one is a little bit simpler. Okay, so these trees are a little bit more simple, and I actually showed them off briefly in a video a few months back now. These are actually really easy to make if you're looking for a simple tree, because I know not everyone has time to make the big trees that I've been showing. In fact, they do take a few hours each to make. These ones are a great alternative. They're super simple to make. If I could stop the minecart, which I can't, I'll just get out. Goodbye, minecart. Basically, you take a normal tree, but you spawn it a few blocks up, right? In this case, this one's like 5 or 6 blocks high, and then you place some logs going down, and you give it a little base. Now, you don't always have to spawn them that high. For example, this one here is a little bit lower. You can add some fences, you can add some extra leaves, and that makes some pretty neat little custom trees, which in my opinion also add a lot, and they just kind of move you away from the default forest biome. And yeah, we don't talk about this. but they move you away from the default forest biome, which we're so used to seeing, and move you into the cool impress your friends with awesome trees biome. And over here, you can do the exact same thing with the oak variant with the Giga Tree. It looks pretty decent in my opinion. You just kind of give them a little extra base and it makes them look like a custom tree, even though we both know they kind of really aren't. But one that is a little bit more custom is this one here. This is just basically a better spruce tree idea. I like making these because they're quick and they're not too expensive. Basically, you take some spruce, you stack it up, maybe you give it a bit of a wiggle, and you end it with some fences. And then what you do, if I fly into free cam here, is you make some rings, big to smaller, and then you kind of just fluff those rings up and you get some pretty interesting looking trees. You can even do them in a smaller scale like back there. And by the way, this is a new build. If you want to see the rest of it, be sure to subscribe because that'll be coming up in the next few weeks here. And now we are back on the server. These trees are pretty big and I really do feel like they're creative mode only, but I really like the look of them. You can make these with voxel sniper pretty quick. They take about 10 minutes. There's some great tutorials online for how to make these, but they're really big and mega, and they do have kind of that fantasy vibe. I think what gives them that vibe is the leaning element, but you can see in a build like this, they really add a lot, especially when you do little dangly bits. I absolutely love them, and they make this build about 4 times cooler than it is normally. Maybe one day I will finish this though. The next tree is in here. You can see it's just a tiny little stand-uppy tree. These are pretty simple to make. It's basically just a pillar of oak that you just kind of put leaves around. You make them a bit thicker at the bottom, and then you make them thinner at the top. But anyway, let's go back to the survival world because that's where I belong. But before we take a look at that, I am super happy to announce that I have partnered with Apex Gaming PCs. They have a line of custom computers designed for gaming as well as content creation. In particular, I want to take a second and talk about the Apex Streamer, which has a Ryzen 5 7600X, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, and an RTX 4060 Ti, not to mention all the cool RGB that you can customize in the purchasing options. If you're in the market for a new PC, definitely go check them out. The link is in the description. Don't forget to use my 10% discount code ECOLIO when you purchase your computer. Outdoor trees are good and nice, and we definitely love them, and I have a lot of them, but sometimes you're inside, like I am right now, and you need a tree. These are the hardest trees to make, in my opinion, because you don't want them to take too much space, but you don't want them to be too small and weird. Like these ones, I wouldn't consider these trees, I'd consider these bushes. So how do we go from bush to tree? Well, if you watched this video, which you probably did, it came out a few months ago on the art gallery here, you might remember this tree right here. Honestly, out of all the trees I've shown you, this might be my favorite. Just because it's so small and cute, and it can fit anywhere. And I really like how it turned out. So basically all it is, you take a little, I forget what these are called, the pot, and you put some fences in it, and then you just go full bush mode with maybe some fence gates and some fences and leaves. You can even mix the kinds of leaves. The trick with these, try to keep them small and flat. If they go too tall, they look kind of weird, and if they go too wide, they look kind of weird. But let me know what you think. What do you think about the indoor tree? Do you want to see more indoor plants? Because I have a bunch of them. I could make a video on that. We got a million plants in the base that I could pull from and show you. So let me know if that's a video that interests you. All right, let's be honest. That mushroom in the background of the ad a few minutes ago probably bamboozled a bunch of you. It's part of something that I'll talk about a little bit later, but I did want to add it in the video here because I did develop some big old mushrooms, and I use the word carefully, develop. I didn't necessarily build these, but again, more on that later. Some of you might hate it, some of you might love it, some of you might even be very curious about where all this weird stuff comes from. So basically, if you're looking for some big mushroom ideas, here's a few. Now, the only issue with these is they get really dark underneath, and it's really tricky to do anything with them because of that. But you can add some little glowy blocks. We even have some different ones here with more curvature, and they're white and stuff. And these are, again, part of an upcoming project, but you can come visit them here. Hello, Sir Tequila. But anyways, more on that in a future video. I really think this might revolutionize how the game is played and how builds are developed. I can't stress enough how absolutely insane stuff like this is. That was a lot of yappage, but now we're back in the survival world in slow cam mode for some reason, and I wanted to show you some jungle-ish trees because maybe you're just in that jungle vibe. And we've seen this build before. We haven't really looked at the trees though, and I have kind of updated them a little bit with some of these things. These are called, I always forget the name, the decorated pots. And I think these look really cool for tree trunks, sparingly, of course. And it's a very similar design to the other place, except I changed the type of wood to match the biome, and I really like how these look. And you can kind of see there's an acacia tree back there in the corner, and it does kind of have some resemblances to what we have here on the island, but these are a little bit more custom, and I really like how they turned out, especially in this place. Now, this next idea isn't really an idea, but if you're really busy and you don't want to spend time designing trees, honestly, like, this build is really nice. I think the trees add a lot to it, and these are just regular old jungle trees. If you spam enough of them, honestly, jungle tree is kind of OP. I think the jungle tree is actually my favorite default tree, just because I like the size, I like the green, and I like the vines. Let me know what your favorite tree is down in the comments below and start to argue about it, because if it's not the jungle tree, you're clearly wrong. Back to some real tree ideas here now. If you're watching this video, I think it's probably safe to assume that you are a Minecraft YouTuber fan. I don't know how to say that in a real sentence, but I'm assuming you watch other people who build stuff in Minecraft, and you probably watch Beta Below. Maybe you've heard of him. Maybe you've seen his really nice builds that he's been doing recently, including trees similar to this. So I actually took his palette and I started designing my own trees basically with it, and I just wanted to give a little bit of insight on how maybe you could do your own and kind of copy him, but not really copy him, more so just take his idea and transform it into your own world. Copying's not so cool. So anyway, let's take a look here. Let's start with this one. So the palette is really simple, and it's kind of like I said at the start of the video, the palette is really important on a build like this. It really makes the tree special. So what it is it's the tuff, the acacia, some spruce, and that's actually pretty much it. And then what you want to do is you want to build that up and give them kind of a lean, maybe 1 or 2 blocks. And once you've done that, you kind of want to just add poofy like rims, I guess. Most of these are actually pretty symmetrical shapes. I just deleted some of the blocks. And if you do one here, you kind of want to balance it out. And I'll actually do a little crosshair here so you can see what I'm pointing at. But basically, you want to start and kind of balance it out side to side. And there's 4 sides to a block, if you're not counting the top or the bottom. So you got to be careful to keep them kind of symmetrical, and you want to also make sure that they get thinner near the top. And once you get to the top, you want to do kind of like a big poofy, so we can maybe use some walls and then poof it out on either side and do something special like that. And now with this pattern, you can basically rinse and repeat and build as many trees as you want. And like I said earlier in the video, you can take something like this and maybe light matica, like 5 or 6 of them, and then rotate them around and just keep building them into your world and creating a forest, which is actually one of my future projects as well. I have some big ideas, some map building ideas that I'd like to do in this world, and maybe create a big old biome eventually. And a lot of these techniques are techniques that are going to be used for that kind of project. But anyway, this is a neat tree idea, and I think we're about ready to move on to the next one. We're back on a design I kind of showed already, and I kind of hesitated showing it in the video again, but I wanted to just highlight how good this tree design can be and how simple it is to do. Something like this takes just about 5 minutes to make once you get the hang of it, and I think they look so anchored and good in the world, especially when you add the little details to them, like the fence posts and the little hanging fires and the beehives and all that. And you can see this is a really old build, and I've plastered them everywhere in here. I've built at least 10 or 15 of them, including this tree design here, again from the castle. And that's kind of going into how you can develop a visual library of elements and just kind of recycle them and use them again and again. And eventually you have so many that stuff just starts to appear in your world, and it doesn't take you that long to design it. You can see there's so many of them here. And by the way, just a quick note about this build. If you follow my channel pretty closely, you might realize that I don't post often anymore, and that's because, believe it or not, every video takes me so long to make. I'm actually producing at record speed with the time that I have in my life, but I built this entire thing, like this whole place here, in a week back in the day. Isn't that insane though? I wish I could still do that, but I am working towards it now to upload more. But anyways, let's move on to the next tree design. This is one I'm sure you're gonna love. Spin move, hello. Okay, this next one is probably my most amazing one that I've ever developed, and I think it's like the magnum opus tree design. I'm really proud of it. It took me a long time, and I saved it for the last portion of the video, I guess, just because I didn't want the people who don't watch the end to see this tree. Are you ready? I'm about to show it to you. 3, 2, 1, here it is. So what I really like about this design is just how square and perfect it is. I think it fits the Minecraft theme pretty good. Whoops. I've spent a long time developing it, like I said, and I think I peaked with this one. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. But unfortunately, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and let me know what I should do next and all that fun stuff. I really don't know how to end my video.